So I think we should just kind of jump right in. So today I wanted to kind of break into to some really fun harmonic ideas, like harmony as an overarching topic. Like how can we use harmony aside from just, great, like here are the chords to this song I'm about to play, right? Like we pick a tune, whether it's like a Michael Jackson tune or an old blues song or a jazz standard. Like most people kind of view harmony as purely chords. It's just the chords. I don't need it while I'm soloing. I don't need to think about it unless I'm comping for the song. But kind of my whole approach to guitar is almost entirely harmonic based. So when I'm soloing, I'm obviously thinking of scales, you know, to help connect chord to chord, but a lot of the times I'm thinking of which chord sounds can I bring out to kind of superimpose or reharmonize the given chord progression. So, you know, maybe the lead sheet says, you know, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, but maybe I'm playing, you know, D minor 11 to D flat 9 to B minor 7 or something else kind of that isn't stemming from the exact chord progression, but it's giving me all of these extra kind of sounds exterior to the chords that we have. So let's start super, super simple. I'm going to use this little whiteboard here, which I just got off Amazon and I'm super excited about. So let's just take one chord at a time to kind of branch out and to see what I'm actually talking about here. So say we're playing over a tune and the chord at hand that we're working with is C major 7, right? So we're going to have C, E, G, B, right? These are our chord tones for C major 7. Right, this would be our root, our third, our fifth, and our seventh, right? So what I'll do is I'll look at this and I'll say, what's really going on inside just a basic seventh chord, right? Well, I can say I have 4 notes, right? All a third apart, diatonic harmony, that's great. But what happens if I break this up into 2 smaller chords, right? I could say, here's my 7th chord, right? All 4 notes. But within this, I also have C, E, G, right, which is my C triad. So I say, okay, well, there's a C triad. I also have E, G, B, right? And E, G, B happens to be an E minor triad. So I can kind of start thinking of, you know, every 7th chord available to me in any tune as 2 different triads as opposed to 1 7th chord. Now, you could just sit there and go, well, okay, great. Like, you're still playing C major 7 either way. But what happens is I can kind of use these almost as like a triad pair. So I might kind of voice lead through C to E minor over and over, going up the neck. And you'll find that it kind of gives a different sound. So, you know, say I'm playing in a band and the bass player is playing the root. I'm like, great, someone's already covering the root. Why should I be doubling it or tripling it? Maybe the piano player is playing the C bass note as well. So maybe I just say, okay, I'm playing over my C major 7 sound, right? But maybe I'm just gonna stick with all of my E minor triad sounds. And what that'll do is that'll kind of give a different harmonic layer to the song, right? This doesn't feel the same if I go, that doesn't feel the same if I just play the full C major 7. Right? That kind of sounds more like Wonder Bread to me. It's more like that's just the basic sound that we're all expecting to hear. So by playing an E minor triad over a C major chord, right? I'm still just simply achieving the sound of C major 7. So I'm not really reharmonizing anything in this case. So what happens if I take this a step further? What happens if I add an extra note to my C major 7 chord, make it a C major 9, for example? So I have root, third, fifth, 7th. Let's add the 9th, which would be the note D. All right, so check this out. Now I have C, E, G, B, D, which also generates a whole extra another triad, right? Here I have G, B, and D, which is a G triad, okay? So now I can add an extra triad into that whole mix. So what I can do here is I can say, okay, you know, my chord here is C major 7. If I play a G triad on top of that, I'm all of a sudden starting to generate all these kind of juicy extension sounds, right? Now, to kind of get to where we've got here so far, I've gone up in thirds, right? Because all diatonic harmony is always stacked in thirds. So I went C, E, G, B, D. I could go to the 11th, but what would happen if I went backwards a third, right? What if I went down and put an A here? What happens now, right? Well, I can just count what is A in relationship to C. C, D, E, F, G, A. A would be my 6th, right? So here we go, check this out. A is now my 6th. So I also have an A, C, E spells out an A minor triad, right? So now all of a sudden we went from one basic chord sound, right? C major 7, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different triads to kind of bounce ideas off of. I have C triad, A minor, G, and E minor, right? So I know you guys probably all know all your triad inversions too. So, you know, for one given triad, you know, if I'm playing a C triad, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like we have all of our, we have every single inversion available to us, right? We have all the inversions on all string sets for every single chord. So we end up having, you know, 4 basic triads, all of the inversions, and we have like so many dozens of possibilities to kind of comp over a C chord now. So this is cool because this is kind of just like the basic layout of breaking a bigger chord or a 7th chord or a 9th chord, something with extensions, breaking it into more manageable parts by making it, just breaking it up into triads. So check this out. So we just did the triads, right? But now that we're adding notes, we also are going to start discovering that we have other 7th chords and other larger chords breaking down in here, right? So we already identified the triads, but let's go a step further. Check this out. Here I have A, C, E, G, right? That's an A minor 7. Here I have C, E, G, B. We already know that's our C major 7 chord, right? But then I also have E, G, B, D, which is an E minor 7 chord. So if I take my 7th chord possibilities now, I guess I'll include, you know, C major 7 in there too. So C major 7. So my options here now for 7th chords, I have A minor 7, I have obviously C major 7, and I have E minor 7. So what I kind of want to do now is obviously these are all really cool sounds to bring out when we're comping, right? That's kind of the way we always think of harmony. Oh, great, harmony, I'm just playing chords, so has nothing else to do with soloing. If I play my chords here, there's no reason that I can't use all of this information and translate it to my soloing. So if I say, wow, I never thought of playing, you know, look at this, it's over a C major 7 chord. What happens if I just play E minor 7 arpeggio the entire time I'm playing over C major 7? That's going to generate the sound of the 9th. So by playing E minor 7 arpeggio over a C major 7 chord, I'm going to generate these beautiful tensions, right? And you can even see, like if I play an E minor 7 grip with a C in the bass, it's quite literally just our C major 9 chord grip. And you can get these really cool sounds out of it, right? If I do A minor, for example, I can do A minor, I can do A minor 7, right? A, C, E, G is my A minor 7 chord. If I included the B, I could call that A minor 9. So I can use this sound, I can use this sound, I can also use my E minor 7, right? So what I will do to kind of structure some extensions for my solo, or kind of like a harmonic map to map out my solo, is I'll say, okay, the OG chord I'm playing over right now, C major 7, we kind of just came up with, you know, these 3 basic 7th chords out of here, A minor, E minor, and C major 7. Maybe I just stick to those 3 arpeggios for playing over my C major 7 chord. So, you know, when we approach C major 7 normally, we probably go, okay, I can play my C major 7 chord. Maybe I play my C major 7 scale or my C major scale. And then that's kind of where the options end, right? But by incorporating these other arpeggios, just 2 other, right? E minor and A minor, we have all these extra possibilities, because if we know our arpeggios really well and we know them all over the neck, Now, when I go to play over C major 7, I have all these different options available to me, right? I have E minor here. I have A minor. I have C. I have A minor again. E minor. C, obviously. E minor. A minor. C. A minor. E. Right, until you run out of frets, and then you're kind of done with the guitar there. But what you can see is it's kind of just a more manageable way of laying out an approach to soloing. So maybe I then take my knowledge of arpeggios and say, like, how can I manipulate these arpeggios, right? I could always take, I think I talked about this in a previous live stream I've done, but if we have, for example, C major 7, our 4 chord tones, I can choose to approach any of these chord tones from a chromatic note, maybe a half step below or a half step above. So instead of just playing, maybe I do a half step below each chord tone here. I go, right? I can also do that from above. I can also do that from below and above, like a little note enclosure, right? Or vice versa, above and then below. So if you take that kind of concept of using like a chromatic approach technique and then mix it in with your C major 7, your E minor 7, and your A minor 7 arpeggios, right? If I'm just playing over C major 7 chord now, what I'll do is I'll kind of try mixing between all of these 3 arpeggios. Maybe I can visualize how I can connect them. I can go, okay, I can start C major 7, and maybe I go down my A minor, maybe I go back up my E, maybe I go down my C, maybe I go up A again here, and then down C, right? So if I kind of map out like these little connections of, wow, halfway through my C triad or my C major 7 arpeggio, I can work into my A minor, and then halfway through my A minor, maybe I mix into my E minor. So if I have that roadmap like laid out as like a general kind of approach, if I add in some chromatic approach notes, like I just showed you over here, then when I go to solo over C major 7, all of a sudden I have this huge kind of immense freedom over the neck. I can start anywhere I want and add these chromatic notes to connect my arpeggios together. So maybe I start on C. Right? So now we've just generated this like really big kind of never-ending cascading line almost in a way, just from using, 3 basic 7th chords that we kind of just pulled right out of our nose, which is right in front of us in that C major 7 chord.